And in the United States, President Joe Biden's dismal showing at the CNN presidential debate against former President Donald Trump resonated around the world, with foreign diplomats expressing shock and concern while raising questions about the implications for a consequential U.S. election that could upend the foreign policy status quo should Trump be elected once again. The overwhelming sentiment among more than half a dozen diplomats from Europe, the Middle East and Asia was that it was a bad night for Biden, as one European diplomat put it. President Biden's debate flop was front-page news across Europe, with left and right-leaning newspapers exonerating the president, even in France, where the country has its own elections coming up this weekend. The president's debate performance also compounded already pronounced concerns about the policies Donald Trump would likely enact if he wins in November. In his first speech after Thursday's debate, U.S. President Joe Biden has hit back at criticism over his age, telling supporters in a fiery speech that he will win re-election in November after a poor debate performance fueled concern about his candidacy.
Televised debate of the U.S. 2024 presidential election campaign saw President Joe Biden stacking up slowly in a matter many have described as a stumbling performance in a 90-minute showdown with Republican candidate Donald Trump. Some Democrat insiders allege his early answers triggered panic. But Vice President Kamala Harris defended Joe Biden, saying it was a slow start with a strong finish. Donald Trump, on his part, repeatedly attacked Mr. Biden on the state of the U.S. economy and his foreign policy record, while Joe Biden targeted his rival's criminal conviction and alleged attempts to overturn the U.S. 2020 presidential election. Both men also locked horns on immigration matters.
His big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back, 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who were in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance.
Their positions on the Paris Accord was also brought to the front burner.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States, and I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it, and it was a disaster.
We're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that.
And there was also a flow of insults across the line. Mr. Biden called Donald Trump a sucker, a loser, and a man with the morals of an alley cat. Mr. Trump hit back and said at one point, "I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence," indicating President Biden was incomprehensible. There were after-debate reactions from black conservative voters at the Trump Watch Party in Atlanta.
Obviously, I'm a Trump supporter. I feel like he was very poised. He did good at answering the questions. Some questions, he didn't directly answer. He went and said what he wanted to say, but that's Trump. He's going to do what he wants to do.
I will say that from what I saw tonight, the sentiment from tonight, the reactions that I saw tonight, I think if anybody was undecided about who they were voting for, tonight really helped them make a decision.
In an Arizona watch party, some Biden supporters acknowledged his shaky performance, in which he frequently lost his train of thought, but emphasized their aversion to a potential second term from former President Donald Trump.
I wish people would think about this. Biden has had a stuttering problem since he was a child. He's not as strong a speaker as Mr. Apprentice.
I feel that Biden perhaps over-prepared. His voice may be lost a little bit because of preparing and preparing and preparing, but he had facts and figures.
It is the first debate of the 2024 election season between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump.
Look, I have the biggest heart on this.
Global Affairs analyst Kunle Falawo joins me from Indianapolis says President Biden promises to fight on despite his performance at the debate. Good to have you joined us on the wall now.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start off with your assessment of each candidate's performance at the debate and some of the policies that divided them and how they were able to put forward their argument.
There is no doubt that President Joe Biden came out very shakily, and this was not the expectation for a lot of his voters and the electorate, especially the core Democrats were not really happy by the performance of President Joe Biden, which is understandable because we wanted more. I mean, apparently they wanted to see more. They wanted to have him assuade the fears and the lady fears of, the Democrats and people generally that he was capable, he was able, he was fit and agile and competent cognitively to handle matters like that. However, he had the facts and he had the figures. He might not be able to articulate some of those policies, but he didn't do really well generally. But on the side of former President Trump, he was fiery. There was many back and forths at some point, but we would see that he had a lot of lies in between. He peddled a lot of falsehood. When the CNN, the private media company that organized that debate, went and fact-checked what he said during the debate, he had about 30 lies that he had peddled while he was talking. And they didn't fact-check it right at the spot of the moment because of the time constraints. But yes, both candidates might not be the best fit, but that's what the options are right now.
And when you say that the current President Joe Biden did not do well, a majority of what former President Donald Trump was really focusing was on tackling some of the policies that the current president had put in place. And does it not bother you that there is an element of racism, especially in the statements made by the former president about the use of black jobs and black people?
It's very simple. What former President Trump normally does, he's a trained showman, like everybody else knows, and he knows how to appeal to his base. His base are very hot on immigration. They're hot on some topical issues, and particularly immigration is one of them. And these are, even if they're lies, that's something that he knows how to play very well and say things that will fit well with his base. And this is just playing to the gallery for Mr. Trump. This is what he knows how to do best. He knows how to peddle, falsehood. And people want to believe what they want to. It's called confirmation bias. They would say things that would confirm their own fears, and it's unfortunate, but it's the polarized nature of the American polity. This is not the first time. I would also say that just having a one day or a one event or a one presidential debate would not be a determinant for who's going to be, the eventual president of the United States. We have another one coming up in September, and I would also emphasize that Mr. Joe Biden, his campaign group had already said that he had cold. He wasn't feeling great before the presidential debate, but he couldn't turn it down. But what they should have done was to tell the American people that the president was not feeling well, but he didn't want to disappoint the American people, but he had to come out and do the debate in any case. But they failed to do that. But we're seeing that President Joe Biden has said that he doesn't want to step down because there are insinuations that the Democratic Party itself is trying to say that he should step down so they can find another suitor. But as it is, he's not going on any of that.
And while President Biden is insisting that there has been a considerable improvement in the area of employment, taxation, and all that in the United States, I understand that the age factor might come into play here. But ahead of the second debate in September, how will this past debate, affect the people's perception and readiness for the elections?
Ideas change, perceptions change, the thinking process of individuals, and people forget very easily. Let's not forget that. Former President Trump had made a lot of accusations and said a lot of things that shouldn't even be said by a politician of that caliber. But guess what? He's here today. He was the president of the United States at some point. So people forget, and temperaments do change. And I feel like this is just one of those things that will happen eventually. But I'm surprised with the level of condemnation coming from the Democratic Party against potential flag bearer. I feel like he's an elderly individual, President Joe Biden. But in any case, they should give him a little bit of grace. He didn't do well, but he could do better. He might not have the facts right, but he had good policies, good ideas, and he's still very capable.
All right, Global Affairs analyst, Conley Follower, live for us in Indianapolis. Thank you for joining us on The World Now.
Thank you for having me.